So I debated for 2 months on making this video, but let's just do it. Let's just tell the whole story. I have no idea how long this is going to take. Let's just tell the whole story. I've I've been for the last 2019 and 2025 for 6 years. For 6 years, I've basically woken up every day working on helping Bitcoin replace fiat money. That's what, as from like a professional work standpoint, from a professional hobby standpoint, from a activist standpoint, that's like what I've woken up with the like mission of doing. Okay. And that's been my entire approach to investing and personal finance has been hugely colored through that lens of professionally working for Bitcoin startups. So I've worked for 3 Bitcoin startups over the course of those 6 years. 4 maybe, depending on depending on how you count it. And startups are wild. Even taking Bitcoin out of it, startups are just wild. And I hadn't I mean I knew that, and that's fine because I've always worked in dynamic environments. Pre-startups, I worked on political campaigns. And so it's very just like gig work, networking based work on how you even get the gigs. Bitcoin startups felt very the same way. And so that's what colored my personal financing. And so when I say that like I hadn't really thought of like the financial independence retire early movement, I never watched any of those videos. I was more of just a classic like personal finance nerd on just more just like cash flow. Like I'm really I if I was to paint my like what am I best at? I'm best at managing cash flow and using smart leverage, as in 0% credit card. Like I'm very good at understanding how the loan process works for mortgages. I'm very good at rolling 0% credit card offers, increasing credit lines. I'm very good at like cash flow management. So that was my focus for like personal finance wise. Personal finance wise, that was my focus. Okay, let me try this again. And I'm really trying to hit at something. Like I have a point, but I don't script these videos. Like I don't script them. I don't write it out. I really have a great point that I want to hit for you. And it's this that I didn't like I said, so I wasn't obsessed about income. I wasn't obsessed about dividend videos. I wasn't watching those how to retire early videos. Like I was an activist. Like I want to see Bitcoin replace fiat money inside our lifetime. And so I went to work for Bitcoin startups. Unfortunately, all 3 that I worked for didn't really work out. They didn't really work out. And that's frustrating. Like it's frustrating being so bullish on Bitcoin replacing fiat money and how good that is for the individual and how good that is for society, but how frustrating it is to like actually work for companies that are building Bitcoin financial services is wildly frustrating. And so why so this this layoff that happened like 2 months ago, I knew that I had YouTube. Like I knew that I had YouTube, but this isn't about like the YouTube income is like $800 a month. So it's there and it's interesting and I like being able to talk onto the internet and have people there. Like that's a hugely privileged position to be in and I'm thankful to like have that just a little bit that is there, right? But it's not but I also have this analogy that was in my head that like it played out again in my life of like when I was in college, I wanted to study economics. Like I wanted to be a hedge fund major. The classic like you go ask Brian back in high school, hey, what do you want to do when you grow up? I want to be a hedge fund major. So I went to school for economics and then I hit this econometrics class where the math was just it was just too hard and it was just too hard and too random. And I was kind of just already over like college at that point and I went back to my dorm room and I reworked my credits and I dropped the economics part, just switched to business admin and realized I already had enough credits to graduate. And so I graduated the semester early because I was already working at a credit union. I was already working at a credit union, already working for a financial advisor. Like I was already building a career in finance or whatever. So I just graduated early. This layoff feels like the same thing because when I came up for air and I stopped trying to push the specific Bitcoin startups I was working for, and when I just stepped back and looked at our own finances, I realized that we're like right on the bubble of financial freedom. We're just shy of, but like comfortable financial freedom, and that means different things for everyone. Like we're just shy of a $2 million net worth, like Sharon and I are. I'm 33 years old. There's so much more compounding. There's so much more compounding ahead. Bitcoin is going so much higher. But that's the first message. Like that's why, like when I make the video of like you need less than you think, and everyone on the internet has less Bitcoin than you think they do. That's true. That's true. And I really appreciate the few. I've made a lot of good friends like through these last series of videos, and we've been talking about how like an OG Bitcoiner saying, oh yeah, you should have bought Bitcoin back in 2014, 2013. Like that's not helpful. That's not helpful. And that's not like, oh yeah, I experienced financial freedom because I bought Bitcoin in 2013. First off, I didn't. Like the first time I opened a Coinbase account was in 2015 and I didn't have any money back then. So I bought $50 and watched it double and pull out my $50. And then I learned about Bitcoin, the movement that I got inspired to go join on YouTube. So for me, yes, Bitcoin has always been about investing. Yes, Bitcoin has always been about growing my net worth, but it's also like very philosophical and personal for me. It's very philosophical and personal to me. Like paper money with politicians' faces on it is not good for society, period. And we need Bitcoin to replace fiat money, and we need Bitcoin financial services to be 10x and 100x bigger and better than they are right now. And so I spent the last 6 years running meetups and working for companies that are trying to build Bitcoin personal financial services. And that's what's interesting is that now when I step back out of that, and I'm like thinking about our personal finances, not through the lens of like trying to run any experiments or trying to like do any things. Dude, none of the Bitcoin only startups out there serve our life at all. Which feels weird because I spent so much time trying to help those companies. And because the asset itself, I do believe is like still incredibly important for the individual and for society. But the Bitcoin only startups are not punching hard enough. They're not big enough at all. So when I make these videos like about Fidelity or about the Bitcoin ETFs, those are the best products out there right now. Those are the best products out there right now. Those are and what do I mean by that? Like for me personally, they're the best products out there. And when I've met more people over this channel and really I'm really trying to like think about Bitcoin personal finance from like a very this is I'm weaving out a lot of my political, philosophical, moral approach to Bitcoin, kind of the like fix the money, fix the world approach. I'm really trying to not dampen it, but I'm really trying to blend in more of like a numbers driven, data driven, habit driven personal finance take. That's why I started off with the whole like I wasn't indoctrinated in the dividend movement or the financial independence movement. Like I wasn't a part of that because the concept of Bitcoin replacing fiat money was so much more exciting to me. That thing is so much more exciting to me than the just work a job, stack up dividend funds, and then retire early or whatever. But through this, through getting older, through having kids, I have a lot more empathy and I'm impressed by that more than I was back then. Back then when I started working for the Bitcoin startups, I can't really shake my like idealism. I can't shake that. I'm the same person on, like, I talk on Zoom call, like work calls, the same way that I talk on this channel. And I can't really shake my idealism. And so I do have a little bit of a chip on my shoulder of like, I don't think I could work anywhere else besides a Bitcoin star, because that's what I'm focused on. Like, that's what I like doing, is thinking about that world. But when I then step back and I'm like just thinking about my own personal finances, I just think about the products way differently now. And so it's given me a way more kind of interesting perspective on what products are actually helpful. And so that's where, yeah, I mean, that's where, to give a specific call, like that's where BTCI comes in, and that's where these covered calls on Bitcoin is something I've always been interested in, actually. Even taking it way back, pre-ETF, my Roth IRA is where I was playing around with mining stocks for the first time back then. And selling covered calls for income is something I was interested in back then. And so it's kind of come full circle back to that today, of realizing that I'm not like just surveying the landscape. I've talked about the four legs of our table. So the four legs of our personal finance table is my wife and I both work. If you're interested in this, like, I have a video of 10 things other than Bitcoin that my wife and I do together to support our path to like building financial freedom. And that's when I say like was laid off just shy of that. Like, I feel like because of the volatility of working for Bitcoin startups, my wife and I have only been able to combine nice salaries for about like 36 months of the 8 years we've been married. So we've been married for 8 years. We've really only been able to combine nice salaries together for about 36 months. And so probably another 12 months, like 12 months of doing that, especially with everything I know now about dividend investing and covered call investing. Like, if nothing else, the last 45 days, I've like gave myself a YouTube education on dividend investing and covered call investing. And it's now the fourth leg of our personal finance table, because we used to only have three legs. So we both work. We both have the ability to work. We both have the drive to work. We both create income. We create value for the world, and we create income. Rental properties. We have 3 homes in Southern California. No outside help from our parents or anything. That's just straight up learning how to use salaries and doubling down on when we did have combined salaries to get mortgages. Bitcoin savings. So we've been saving Bitcoin. It's better than fiat money. And then the fourth leg of the table is now bringing in this income-driven investing. Rental properties are that for me as well. But we talk about growth versus income. All three of our homes, both of our rentals, are in growth markets. So where the equity builds faster than the actual cash flow does. They both break even right now. One of our rentals makes about $700 a month. One of them loses about $700 a month. So the portfolio is even. The portfolio is even as equity is building. And then on top of that, we have HELOCs out on both of them, which is going to contribute to a large dividend portfolio that I'm about to start. So I'm learning in real time to make the switch over from growth-driven investing to more of a defensive, retiring early, income replacement portfolio. And it feels so weird saying portfolio, because again, I've never thought about it like that. But that's organically how I arrived at this income thing. And what it's opened up, I think, is a lot more empathy for people that have been focused on this. And it's opened up a lot of I think I've always known this, but I have to continue to beat it into my head that not everyone cares about the fix the money, fix the world part. The whole replacing fiat money thing is a very kind of like weird, fuzzy, big thing. It's not immediately applicable. It's not. To be honest, I thought it would hit more with like, I thought kind of like politics people would understand it more than they do, and they don't really. And so now that these Bitcoin covered call funds are becoming more popular, I think this is the thing that bridges the financial independence retire early movement and the Bitcoin movement. Because the good thing about Bitcoin, and this is still true, is that the philosophy is still there regardless if people like adopt the philosophy or not. The concept of Bitcoin being the most successful open source protocol in the world that has the potential to replace the dollar is a thing and is happening regardless if it's talked about or not. And so fire investors, dividend investors, income investors that buy into Bitcoin funds are still funding that mission. That is the Bitcoin being like a black hole for all capital, for especially non-productive capital. That is happening. And so I think these income funds are what is going to bring on the fire movement. Because Bitcoin's volatility, options trading is all about volatility. And so the covered calls are able to harvest that volatility. And Bitcoin's volatility profile is completely different than every other asset that's available. And so I don't see volatility going down. And I see these Bitcoin income funds as being very, I think they're gonna, I think they're gonna impress people with how stable they actually are as far as the income they're able to drive and as far as the way they're able to track Bitcoin price. Because what's interesting, the fire investors don't have as much